Function notation. So what is a function? Function can be described in multiple different ways. You can describe it as for each input or each x value you plug into an equation, there's only one single output, aka just one y comes out. So one in, one out. If you're looking at ordered pairs, you're looking for x's that don't repeat for the same reason as above. If you plug in one x, you should only be getting one y value out. And if you might be looking at a graph, you could use the vertical line test to check to see if something's a function. As you scroll your pencil across the graph, you should only be touching the line at one point at a time. If you ever touch the graph more than once, it would not be a function. So function notation. When you're given an equation that begins with an f of x or g of x or any kind of letter in front of a parenthesis around a variable, that means you've been given a function here. So that letter in the front, whether it's f or another one, just helps you identify which equation we're talking about. Especially if we put a bunch on the same screen, that one helps you identify, is it the first equation, the third one, which one do we need? Inside the parentheses, if they give you a number or a variable in there, that's what they want you to plug into the equation and simplify. So the example we have here, we have g of x equals, and we've got our function, and we want to find g of 2. So because that 2 is inside the parentheses, what they're telling us here is plug in 2 for the x's. So let's do that. So we're going to plug in 2 for each one of our x variables. And now we're going to simplify. And don't forget your order of operations. So we will square our 2 in the front. We'll multiply in the middle. Then we will add and subtract these together. Negative 4 plus 4 is actually going to cancel those two. So we're left with negative 6. This is using function notation. We're plugging in values for our variable. So what if you have a graphed function? You can still find f of x from a graph instead of from an equation written out. So just keep in mind, the thing inside the parentheses, that's your x. So since we're looking at graphs, that's your x value of an ordered pair. Once you find that x value, then you're going to scroll either up or down on your graph until you find the line. Now, once you have it, hold that spot and then figure out what's the y value for that spot, because that's the answer you're after. So let's see what that looks like in action. So we've got a graph on the right, and the first one we want to find is f of 0. So that's like saying we want to find the ordered pair where 0 comes in the front. We're asking, well, what goes in the back of that ordered pair? So x of 0 is right here, and we're going to go up till we touch the graph right here. That spot is the ordered pair we're trying to write. So it is 0 for x, and our y value is the number 5. So we put the answer as just 5. So you don't have to write these as ordered pairs because the answer they're asking for is always just the y. But think of it as trying to write the ordered pair. If you've got the first piece, what would that second piece need to be? So for the next one, f of 5, again, it's an ordered pair that starts with a 5. We're looking for that back piece. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is our x. You're either going to look up or down until you find your line. So we're going to keep going up here to this spot where we're touching the line. Look over to the left to our y-axis, and it's the number 10. So that would be the ordered pair, 5, 10. Now you can also take any given equation and switch it into function notation. So if it's not already solved for y, we can do that. So in order to write something into function notation, you're going to solve for y, and then we're going to just drop off the y and replace it with that f of x. So that's what's making this a function notation. So for our example, write the equation 4x minus 3y equals 2 into function notation. First step, we got to solve for y. So we're going to leave y where it's at on the left-hand side here. We're going to move everything else around it. So we're going to start by subtracting 4x to the other side. Then we still want y by itself, so we're going to divide by the coefficient, -3. Divide it from everything. So y equals, we can simplify here, -4 over -3 makes +4/3 x. +2 over -3 gives us a -2/3. We now have everything switched into y equals form. We've solved for y. The last thing we're going to do is just switch out that y for f of x. And now you have function notation.